Hello, this is day 49 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every day. We are on Purgatorio, Canto 15, which I'll read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick comments. As much as twixt the close of the third hour and dawn of day appeareth of that sphere which I in fashion of a child is playing, so much it now appeared towards the night was of his course remaining to the sun. There it was evening, and 'twas midnight here. And the rays smote the middle of our faces, because by us the mount was so encircled, that straight towards the west we now were going, when I perceived my forehead overpowered beneath the splendor far more than at first, and stupor were to me the things unknown. Whereat, towards the summit of my brow I raised my hands, and made myself the visor which the excessive glare diminishes. As when from far off the water, or a mirror, the sunbeam leaps unto the opposite side, ascending upward in the self-same measure that it descends, and deviates as far from falling of a stone in line direct, as demonstrate experiment and art, so it appeared to me that by a light refracted there before me I was smitten, on which account my sight was swift to flee. What is that, Father sweet, from which I cannot so fully screen my sight that it avail me, said I, and seems towards us to be moving? Marvel thou not, if dazzle thee as yet the family of heaven, he answered me. An angel 'tis, who comes to invite us upward. Soon will it be that to behold these things shall not be grievous, but delightful to thee, as much as nature fashioned thee to feel. When we had reached the angel benedict, with joyful voice he said, Here enter in, to stairway far less steep than are the others. We mounting were, already thence departed, and Beati Misericordies was behind us sung. Rejoice, thou that o'ercomest. My master and myself, we two alone were going upward, and I thought, in going, some profit to acquire from words of his. And I to him directed me, thus asking, what did the spirit of Romagna mean, mentioning interdict and partnership? Whence he to me, of his own greatest failing he knows the harm, and therefore wonder not if he reprove us, that we less may rue it. Because are thither pointed your desires, whereby companionship each share is lessened, envy doth ply the bellows to your sighs. But if the love of the supernal sphere should upwardly direct your aspiration, there would not be that fear within your breast. For there, as much the more as one says, our, so much the more of good each one possesses, and more of charity in that cloister burns. I am more hungering to be satisfied, I said, than if I had been before silent, and more of doubt within my mind I gather. How can it be that boon distributed, the more possessors can more wealthy make therein, than if by few it be possessed? And he to me, because thou fixest still thy mind entirely upon earthly things, thou pluckest darkness from the very light. That goodness infinite and ineffable which is above there runneth unto love, as to a lucid body comes the sunbeam. So much it gives itself as it finds ardor, so that as far as charity extends, or it increases the eternal valor. And the more people thitherward aspire, more are there to love well, and more they love there, and, as a mirror, one reflects the other. And if my reasoning appease thee not, thou shalt see Beatrice, and she will fully take from thee this and every other longing. Endeavor then, that soon may be extinct, as are the two already, the 5 wounds that close themselves again by being painful. Even as I wished to say, thou dost appease me, I saw that I had reached another circle, so that my eager eyes made me keep silence. There it appeared to me that in a vision ecstatic on a sudden I was rapt, and in a temple many persons saw, and at the door a woman, with the sweet behavior of a mother, saying, Son, why in this manner hast thou dealt with us? Lo, sorrowing, thy father and myself were seeking for thee. And as here she ceased, that which appeared at first had disappeared. Then I beheld another, with those waters adown her cheeks which grief distills whenever from great disdain of others it is born, and saying, If of that city thou art lord, for whose name was such strife among the gods, and whence doth every science scintillate, avenge thyself on those audacious arms that clasped our daughter, O Pisistratus. and the Lord seemed to me benign and mild, to answer her with aspect temperate. What shall we do to those who wish us ill, if he who loves us be by us condemned? Then I saw people hot in fire of wrath, with stones a young man slaying, clamorously still crying to each other, Kill him! Kill him! And him I saw bow down, because of death that weighed already on him, to the earth, but of his eyes made ever gates to heaven, imploring the high Lord in so great strife that he would pardon those his persecutors, with such an aspect as unlocks compassion. Soon as my soul had outwardly returned to things external to it which are true, did I my not false errors recognize. My leader, who could see me bear myself like to a man that rouses him from sleep, exclaimed, What ails thee that thou canst not stand? But hast been coming more than half a league, veiling thine eyes, and with thy legs entangled, in guise of one whom wine or sleep subdues. O my sweet father, if thou listen to me, I'll tell thee, said I, what appeared to me, when thus from me my legs were taken away. And he, If thou shouldst have 100 masks upon thy face, from me would not be shut thy cogitations, howsoever small. What thou hast seen was that thou mayest not fail to ope thy heart unto the waters of peace, which from the eternal fountain are diffused. I did not ask what ails thee, as he does, who only looketh with the eyes that see not, when of the soul bereft the body lies, but asked it to give vigor to thy feet. Thus must we needs urge on the sluggards, slow to use their wakefulness when it returns. We passed along, athwart the twilight, peering forward as far as ever eye could stretch against the sunbeams serotine and lucent. And lo, by slow degrees a smoke approached in our direction, somber as the night, nor was there place to hide one's self therefrom. This of our eyes and the pure air bereft us. So, as you've noticed, with each terrace there's both biblical and mythological, or even historical, I should really just say classical examples given for each virtue as well as each vice. And for this terrace, Dante is given those in a vision instead of as carvings on the wall. It overcomes him, and suddenly he feels he can see the moment when Mary, being meek, asks Jesus why he abandoned them when he was 12 years old in the temple, when they were looking for him. And then just as quickly he sees an image of Pisistratus, who was a tyrant of Athens, but known for being meek and humble. He addresses a mother who asks that vengeance be taken upon someone who was with her daughter, and he is able to calm her down and turn her away from wrath. And then thirdly is the martyrdom of Saint Stephen, also from the Bible, from the book of Acts. Virgil says that these visions are given him for the purpose of him, Dante, that is, being able to open himself fully to the love of God. Speaking of love, the beginning of this canto has a very important discussion. There's going to be a lot of important discussions in the next few cantos, especially in the next one, but this one's big. It's about love and how love can be infinite in its way. Let me explain. So Dante had heard somebody in the terrace of the envious say, "Why did I put my hope in that which shuns companionship?" And Dante says, "That's such a strange thing to say. Virgil, do you know what he meant by that?" And Virgil explains, well, earthly goods, when they're shared among many, dissipate. There's less of them, the more people there are to go around. Whereas love and other things that are pursued in heaven, in the highest sphere, they only multiply the more people that there are to receive them. This is most true of love, and love is one of the most important concepts in the Divine Comedy and in life, so I'll explain it. But by that way, love multiplies rather than divides the more people there are to be a part of it. Think of a mother or a father, right? Let's say they have one child. Okay, they love him quite a lot. Let's say they have two children. Do they love the first one half as much as they did before? No, of course not. And so you could keep going to show that love does not divide. It's not like you only have a fixed amount to give. It's more along the lines of it multiplies, because as Virgil says, the more people arrive in heaven, the more people there are who are able to love. And furthermore, they're able to love, they are themselves lovable. So each new soul that approaches heaven only makes the joy there more complete. It's a very unique situation. It's overabundance of goodness, and it's incredible. The analogy of light being reflected from mirror to mirror is what kind of mirrors this economy of love. You know, it doesn't diminish just by being bounced from one mirror to the next. It in fact multiplies. Now there's more of it in more places. But also, love is important in understanding how the entire Divine Comedy is structured. In both the Purgatorio and the Inferno, which have the same basic structure, it's just flipped, reversed, the worst sins have to do with those that are because of a lack of love, whereas the less serious sins have to do with an overabundance of love or misplaced love. Think greed, right? Or lust in the case of overabundance, right? And that explains the whole thing. And we have to remember love as we go, because that has to do with the higher spheres of heaven, of Paradiso as well. Lastly, Virgil says one other thing when Dante sees the angel, and he can't even look at it because it's so bright. He says that your eyes are going to get more used to this as you climb higher. And that's true too. As Dante is coming closer and closer to perfection, he will be able to see brighter lights than this. But this is true on a metaphorical level as well. I've mentioned a number of times how, because of fallen human nature, we can have bad appetites. We can desire things that are bad. And in the same manner, if you find yourself in that position, oh, gee, I have appetites that are bad. What, am I just gonna, white knuckle it until hopefully I get to heaven, but by a long road of purgation? Well, actually, your desires themselves can change. Your ability to appreciate good things can change as you yourself become better. In the same way that Virgil's saying. Or even think about it with an analogy, like reading the great books of Western civilization. Nobody just wakes up one day and says, oh, gee, I want to read Tolstoy today, right? Tolstoy or Homer or whatever. No. That's something that you have to cultivate within yourself. They're not written to be easy to read, They're usually translated a number of times. It's a high style of language, and you have to really dig into it to figure out what it means. But the more you work at it, the more you find yourself to enjoy that and even want to know more. And I'm not even talking about the difficulty becomes less, because oftentimes it only increases. Some of my favorite books are the ones that challenge me the most. And not because of the challenge, but because I actually love what I'm reading. That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.